What's up, people? Welcome to this episode of the By the Hood podcast or webcast because I don't know how you're consuming this content. I'm your host as always. My name is Jimmy, and as we start off every episode, that is with gratitude. Just want to say thank you to all of our supporters, specifically all of our students from By the Hood University, our MDC strategy group, as well as the youth from the By the Hood ownership camp. I'm joined by my partner in crime as always, Corey. Corey, how are you, good brother?
Chilling, man. Every day above ground's a good day, so let's go get it.
Absolutely. And as you know, our show is designed to highlight brothers and sisters who are doing positive work, building businesses, putting out positive energy in the universe and making our folks look good. The sister that we have on with us right now, listen, is doing amazing work. I use her services pretty much exclusively at this point. One of my favorite people because, listen, not only is her business a quality business, but, of course it's Black-owned business, but sometimes we get into this thing when it comes to Black-owned businesses about complaining. But my thing is when you find one that does good quality work, we're supposed to scream about it. And, without further ado, I definitely want to bring the founder of Quick Abstract. I want to bring Keesha on. Keesha, how are you?
I'm good,
Hey,
Jimmy. Hey, Corey, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Hey,
Good.
listen, so
Ab-
so my thing is, first of all, thank you so much for your time, right? I just want to say we appreciate your time. We know how valuable time is, especially someone as busy as you. So I want to say thank you first and foremost.
No problem. Thank you guys. It's a pleasure.
Listen, and like I said, I'm big on supporting our folks. But when you find someone that has quality business, quality customer service, and does overall good work, I think we should scream about that. The same way our folks scream about if they get bad service. We're quick to jump about that, but we need to do just as good a job as talking about the great companies that our folks have founded. You are the founder of Quick Abstract, so again, I want to say I appreciate you for what you've built because you guys have built a tremendous team and organization, and you guys do great work. So before we get into your story, just want to say thank you for that.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
And
you out there
Jimmy,
making
for
us
you
look good.
guys, yes. Thanks for continuing to use our company. You can use a million title companies, but I'm grateful that you continue to use us. That means a lot.
Always, always. So listen, let's get into your story though. Let's talk about you are the founder of Quick Abstract, and we're gonna get into your story about how that come about. But where are you born and raised? Where are you from?
So I'm from West Philadelphia, born and raised, right off of 53rd and Cedar, across from what they used to call Killacordia, but Mercy Hospital now. But 53rd and Cedar was where I grew up in the West Philadelphia area.
Okay, so coming up, what kind of student were you?
I was a pretty good student. AB student. I was into a lot of sports. I played basketball, volleyball. I was very active on student council. I grew up in the Catholic school system. So I went to Our Lady of the Rosary for
Mhm.
grade school. Then I went to West Catholic High School. And then I finished my college education at Villanova University. So went through
Oh,
Catholic school pretty much my entire
Full Catholic school.
oh
yeah,
yeah,
full
okay,
College experience too, huh?
yes,
yeah.
yes,
And those some great schools, by the way. Those are all great schools. So,
Right?
so
yeah.
Keisha's smart.
A little bit, a little bit, a little bit.
Well, let me ask you this
My
question.
parents, go ahead.
Okay, finish your about your parents. Go ahead.
I said, now my parents, growing up in the city when we grew up, public schools in our area were not the greatest.
Mhm.
So, they made sure that, we got the best education that we could get. They struggled a little bit, but they were able to, maintain and get all of us through Catholic school. So I'm always going to be grateful to them for that because it provided a lot of opportunities that I may not.
Yeah, shout out to the parents for making a sacrifice because they
Right?
basically they basically invested in your education. Because, like I said, for those that may not be from the Philadelphia area, those are good schools and those are expensive schools.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so, so,
Hell of
Tuition was no
expensive.
joke.
yeah, yeah. So, shout out to your parents for putting you in position to succeed. I mean, that's very important to point out and give them a shout out.
Yes, for sure.
All right. So, when you were going to Villanova, what were your ideas? Like, what did you want to do? What were you majoring in?
So when I went to Villanova, I wanted to go to believe it or not. I went for political science and I had a minor in Japanese. And my goal was to become an international lawyer. So that was the path I took and ended up graduating from Villanova. Decided that I wanted to go to law school, did a semester at Temple University, and I just decided, hey, I'm not ready for law school. It's not for me, but I still wanted to be somewhat in a legal field. So in doing that, I ended up doing paralegal work for a title insurance company, and that's kind of how I got into the title insurance business.
All right, so I got a couple questions.
Yes,
Do you speak Japanese?
I understand it. I can read it. I don't speak fluently now. No, I did speak it 20 years ago because that was my minor,
Hmm.
and university had what you call like a Japanese exchange program. And that allowed us to go over to Japan for 6 months and actually spend time learning the language. You would live with a Japanese family, and they spoke Japanese the entire time. So
Wow.
I know a little bit. I can understand it, but it's like if you have something for so long. I graduated from Villanova in 2001, so we're talking 21 years
Yeah.
um, that I haven't used it, but I can read it a little bit still and understand if I hear it.
No,
You know,
that's just
beautiful.
interesting to me. That's just
Yeah,
I don't know too many folks that look like me that can understand Japanese. So
yeah.
just found that interesting right there.
Yeah.
The second part
So
that is,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I ended up taking Japanese because at Villanova, like if you took Spanish in high school or you took French, you had to take the intermediate courses at the college level. And because I took them in high school, once you get to the college level, it's a completely different ball game. So the curriculum was if you took a language you had never taken, you can start at the beginner's level and eventually work your way up. So Japanese was something that intrigued me. They offered 6 credits for it, which was unheard of at that time. So I actually got 6 credits for taking it, and it
Mhm.
just ended up being a win-win, all around.
Yeah. And the other question was, you said you did a year at law school. In that year's time, did you
Half
have?
a Not even half a semester. Once the drop period came, I
Oh,
dropped.
you was done with it. Okay. All right.
I
So
was done.
Done, done.
Yeah, I
yeah.
had done so much work at Villanova, and I felt like I just needed a break. And I came to my parents. I said, "Listen, I don't think I can do school anymore. Like this, just it's not. I'm not passionate about it. I'm ready to get into the work field." So I figured doing the paralegal work still kept me relevant in the legal field in the event that I decided to go back to law school. So I went that course.
Okay. Cool. Because I was just getting ready to ask you, did you have to take civil procedure? Because I still have nightmares about that specific class in law school. But
Oh wow. So
yeah,
Jimmy, are you a lawyer?
I'm not a lawyer. I did go to law school, but I'm not a lawyer. I'm not
Okay.
with the bar or anything. But so I kind of had my experience too. I was like, I don't want to do this, but that's a
Right, right,
that's a whole other story. But with
right.
that
Okay.
with that being said, though, what was it about this specific type of work that intrigued you when you started working as a paralegal and you started doing work with title? What was it about it that made it interesting to you?
So the one thing that intrigued me about title was that so when I applied for the job, I had no idea what a title insurance company was. All I knew was that it was a paralegal position that I wanted to work in, and I figured, hey, if I become a paralegal, I'll learn the rest. The thing that intrigued me about the title industry, one was that there was not a lot of African American presence in the title world, right?
Mhm.
So that was one thing that intrigued me. The second thing was that not a lot of people knew what a title company was. Some people go to closing and they don't realize the importance of a title company or realize, hey, the people you went and purchased your house from, that was actually a title company. So those things intrigued me. And the more I continued to work in the business, I worked different positions. It just, fed my interest and I wanted to learn more. I wanted to do more. So eventually I ended up learning every aspect of the business.
Yeah. So how long that in your journey, how long was it before you started working as a paralegal to when you were able to kind of open up your own shop? What was that process like?
Okay, so I worked as a paralegal from about 2001 to 2005 for one title insurance company.
Hmm.
I then went on to work for a larger company. In 2008, when the economy went bad, that particular title insurance company closed down. And when they closed down, I had trouble finding a job that would pay me what I was making at that job. So look for a job, offers were coming in, but the income just wasn't comparable to what I was making. So I said, listen, why don't I try to do this on my own? So actually ended up starting a title search. Quick Abstract actually started out as a company the searches for the title companies. So we
Okay.
started out as a title search company. That went really well. And then a lot of our clients were saying, hey, you should offer the title insurance piece. So that was 2008. By the time 2014, 15 hit, we added the title insurance piece to it to where we were actually able to do the closings and offer the title insurance as well.
Okay. Nice. So you had like a nice journey.
Mhm.
So if what do you think is the biggest misconception about the work you do for someone that, I mean, I know a lot of people don't even know what a title company does, but what do you think is
Oh,
the biggest?
yeah. Let's start there. What does a title company do?
I guess yeah. Good point, Core.
Oh, good question. So the title company actually does the background research on the properties or properties that are listed in a particular county. So our job is to act as, if you want to call like an investigator, we do the background research to make sure that the owner is who they say they are. We make sure that if there are any liens or judgments against the property, that is disclosed to the buyer and the seller so that we can eventually provide clear title. Our job is to make sure that every person that is listed in a chain of title was the actual owner. And then to make sure that once you purchase the property, that you're actually purchasing it from the person and that they are who they say they are. So I like to sum it up as we do background research, we make sure that it's clear, and then we come to our buyer and we say, hey, listen, we're able to offer you title insurance on this property.
Okay. So now my a great point though, Core. I'm glad you did that. But now, what do you think is the biggest misconception or misunderstanding that people have about your work?
I think our work is underestimated a lot because you just see us at the closing table, right? You see us when we go to settlement and it's time to sign the documents. But what people don't realize is that before we get to that point, sometimes it's a lot of issues with the title. And you have to realize the title company acts as the liaison between the lender, the agents, the wholesalers, the buyer, and the seller. So we're dealing with on each transaction, we may be dealing with maybe 7 to 8 people on every transaction. And the title company's job is kind of like to hold everything together because at the end, when we go to the table, the title company is the one that's responsible for ensuring that title. We're the ones that you call if there's an issue with your title post closing. And we're kind of like the company that sticks around once the transaction has closed and years have gone by. The title company is the company that you're going to eventually have to reach out to at some point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
go
I
ahead,
have
Core.
I have another question for you. So what
Yes.
does title insurance provide to the buyer and to the seller?
So title insurance is for the buyer, right?
Okay.
So let's just say you buy car insurance. Your auto insurance protects you against accidents. Title insurance protects you against any defects or any liens or judgments that may come against your title, right? So if you're about to buy a property and the property has a $20,000 gas bill and it probably has $10,000 in taxes, our job as a title company is to find that information, disclose it to the buyer so that we then hold the seller responsible for paying those items off to the table. Once we go to the table and the transaction closes, we then offer the buyer a title insurance policy. So basically, that policy ensures you that somebody can't come and knock on your door and say, hey, Jimmy, hey, Corey, I own this property. If that were to happen, your title insurance kicks in. And again, title insurance is based off your sales price. So naturally, if somebody purchased a property for $1 million, their premium is a lot higher than someone that purchased a property for $100,000. Nonetheless, you still have insurance, and our job is to protect your investment and make sure that those type of things don't happen.
Yeah, so I wanted you to explain that because that's a very important piece, right? Because you can't have ownership without making sure that the chain is not broken, that chain of ownership goes to the right person. So
Yeah.
I
That's
don't want people to underestimate the importance of a title company.
Yes, and also with the rising number of fraud cases that are going around, people are stealing properties, especially in the city of Philadelphia. You absolutely want to make sure you have a title company that's doing their due diligence to make sure that, the property that you're investing your hard-earned money in is actually free and clear. The last thing you want to do is pay, $50,000 for property, not get title insurance, and then find out that you didn't have the right seller. Now your money's gone. You don't have a title insurance policy, and you're pretty much, you
Screwed.
know, yeah,
Yeah,
screwed.
yeah.
Pretty much,
SOL. And that's interesting. I was just trying to help someone today who bought a property, bought it in the
mhm,
streets, quick claim deed, never did title search, and something popped up, a huge
right?
lien or something from 2002, and I'm like, I'm gonna tell you, like, but this happens all the time. So,
Yeah, it
but
does.
also you made another a great point. You
Mhm,
guys do a lot of work to even get to the table, right? Um,
absolutely. Mhm,
and what the thing I'll say about like your organization and shout to Tyrone as well as Justice, because those dudes
yes,
those dudes will hound me down like, where's this at, where's that? Listen,
right.
they're excellent. So the question I have is this though, right? You talked about
Mhm,
title, but as a business owner, how difficult was it to build that culture and build a company of folks that look like us and offer that quality customer service, right? So we're quick to talk about people who don't have it together, but you guys have it together. You guys do excellent work. And when I walk in the office, everybody looks like me. And it's like, it's a
right,
sense of pride I get in using you. But how
right.
difficult was it for you to build that over time to where you can do the work that you do at that level with our people? So talk about that journey.
So it was really difficult. First of all, we face challenges. A lot of people don't know this, but as a title company, you have to have an underwriter that backs you, right? And most of the time, the underwriters, 99% of the underwriters are, not of color, right? So you always have that barrier in trying to prove yourself and prove that your organization is worthy of being a part of a larger scale or a larger underwriter. And with that comes challenges because, we deal with distressed properties, we deal with properties where grandma passed the house down and there's no title insurance. And a lot of times, if you're not willing to do the work to clear that title, that file might not close, right? So, quick abstract, we spend a lot of our time handling a lot of those files. One, because we're passionate about our people, getting clear title. We know that getting clear title eventually provides the pathway for generational wealth. It then allows, us to be able to do other things. So the challenges that we have that I have faced in the very beginning, just trying to prove myself and say, hey, we're worthy, and hey, we're going to be able to do work at a top tier level like a lot of the other larger companies. It was a challenge, but but with anything, you just keep at it. You continue to prove yourself. You continue to close transactions where you don't have a lot of claims, right? Because if you get a lot of claims in title insurance, an underwriter may not want to continue to back you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you just have to do your due diligence in the files, going from A to Z, making sure nothing's missed. You dot your I's, you cross your T's. And eventually, once you start to do that, it becomes a habit, it becomes a process. And then the people that come into our office to work for us train them the same way. Listen, we have to treat this file as if, this could be our last file, and
Mm-hmm.
just make sure that we're doing our due diligence to make sure that title is clear. And in doing that, it has allowed us to grow. Because there were not a lot of people that looked like me when I started in the title industry, I'm always passionate about hiring people because I want to break that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't be in a room full of 1,000, Caucasians and be the only one or two black people in the room. Like that
Yeah.
just has to change. But the only way that changes is if we create opportunities for our people to work in this business, to get to learn the business and then they actually end up loving it, and it ends up being a career for them.
Okay, I have another question, which is,
Yes.
what are the qualifications to do the job?
So the only qualification on my end is that you have good customer service, you enjoy working with people, and I can take the rest from there. I can train the right person. Some of my best staff I've gotten out of they were waitresses and waiters.
Because they
Um,
understand people.
They understand people, they understand customer service. Lauren, who's been with me for 4 years, she's the longest term employee. I found her in an Outback Steakhouse, right? I was so impressed with how she took my order. She didn't write it down. Like it was in her head. She followed up. She made sure I was okay. If something wasn't right, she was able to pick up on it. And I believe that that is a transferable skill, that customer service piece.
Yeah.
I even did a little bit of waitressing when I was in college, and I was an excellent waitress, right? Because that customer service skill was something that I did well, and again, it's something that you can transfer over into another field. I can teach you title as long as you customer service piece is something that can't be taught, and you have to want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this: your journey from wanting to study law, getting into the title business. Along this journey, what would you say has been a hurdle or something that you had to overcome to get you to where you are today?
Um, the color of my skin, right?
Okay.
So when I go to a lot of conferences, I'm always asked, oh, what company do you work for? Who's your boss? And I always and I'm always very humble. And saying, no, I'm the owner. This is my company. I'm not the employee. So my skin color has been the biggest challenge, just because there's not a lot of us in this business, and it's hard to get people to, take you seriously and say, okay, you're actually doing title and you're doing it well. But yeah, my skin color.
No, I can imagine that because there's also not a lot of folks for you to talk to that can understand maybe some of the struggles or your journey or because
In this
you're
specific field.
listen, you're a trailblazer. So being a trailblazer at times is kind of
Man.
lonely. It's
Yeah.
kind of lonely, right?
Yeah, you get clipped a
Right,
lot.
right, right. But I enjoy what I do. You have to be passionate about this work, because title can be, a little boring because you're constantly reading, constantly looking at legal descriptions and things that just are not fun things to look at, right? But if you're passionate about your end goal, and the end goal is to eventually help as many people as we can become homeowners and help as many investors as we can, that passion is what continues to drive me in doing what I do. You know.
So what's the payoff? What's the most what's the most enjoyable part? I think I know your answer. But what's the most enjoyable part about the work that you do?
Closing day, right? When you get to that table and you have a buyer that gives you flowers or gives you a thank you card and just says, thank you for explaining the documents to me because I had no idea what I was looking at. Or someone that says, hey, my file was messed up, but I'm grateful to be here. Like it's moments like that when you take the picture in front of our wall and everybody's celebrating. We had a settlement, I believe, about 6 months ago with a young lady. She had 7 kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
All 7 of her kids were at the table. And, every time another child came in, I was just like, Jesus, like this settlement room is getting crowded. But what I realized is that it was important for her to have her kids see her buy a house.
Yeah.
Look at me signing these papers. I mean, it was a very emotional moment
Mm-hmm.
that I still remember, but it was important for her kids to see it so that they had an example, and they can probably at some point buy a house on their own. So it's the closing table for me. It's the pictures at the end. Everybody's happy, regardless of what you had to go through in the beginning, submitting paperwork, or if there was an issue on title, dealing with the lender. None of that matters when you get to the closing table because everybody's happy. They're excited. You can give the keys over to the new
Yeah.
owner, and it's really a good feeling. It really
Yeah.
is.
I figured that's what you would say because you're literally helping families create wealth and generation.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
So
And
that's
when they bring their kids to the table, it's like wow, like
yeah.
I didn't have that opportunity growing up. I didn't know what it was like to go to a closing table. So to
Mm-hmm.
see that, it makes it worth it.
Okay.
Definitely.
So Keisha, what is your favorite book or a book that's inspired you along your journey? Something that you like that you got some value from.
So my favorite book is Grit. I don't know if you've heard of it, by Angela Duckworth. And this particular book was given. So you don't know this, but I had a newspaper route from the time I went to college up until about maybe 5 years ago. about 20 plus years. I did the newspaper route in the early mornings. I got up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, from 2 to 6 every morning, 365 days. I
Mm.
was delivering newspapers, right? I did it because the income was good. It was the only income that you could make at that time of the morning and still be able to be productive during your day and to do other things. One of my customers on my paper route, he said, "There's something about you. You have that grit." And I didn't know what he meant when he said it until the day that I finished my last day of serving papers. He gave me a book called Grit by Angela Ducksworth. And when I read the book, I realized, I said, wow, this is me. He said, you're constantly pounding every day, day in and day out. You're doing a good job. You're making the job work. Even though I was delivering papers, I was the best paper delivery person out there. My customers and clients loved me. And this customer actually saw that and actually ended up giving me that book. So I try to read that book at least once a year, just to refresh myself, to give me a little bit of motivation. Because in any business that you're trying to do, even if you're working a job, you got to have the grit. You got to be motivated. You got to be passionate. You have to want to do it to be successful.
Oh, that's an amazing story. That's an
Yeah,
amazing
Yeah.
story.
right. But
So,
I
working
actually
in
didn't let
newspapers is crazy.
Yeah, I didn't let the paper route go. So when I started the business in 2008, naturally you have your challenges with finances and trying to get a business up and running. Didn't have business funding that was available like it is today. So working that full time, working the paper route, which gave me full time income, allowed me to start my business, to still pay employees because I didn't take a salary from my business for about 2.5 years.
mhm,
And it wasn't until like 2016 that I let the paper route go. And then the business was able to actually pay me and was able to sustain itself.
nice, nice. That's an amazing story. So Corey, you have any more questions you want to ask your brother?
No, I mean, um, a, a paper route is something like my wife wanted to do a paper route.
Really?
She wanted to do it, and I was like, I don't know, it's kind of dangerous out here in these streets. Like, you know
20,
what I
20,
mean?
Right.
2022
But
is
see,
different than back then,
No, it
though.
wasn't in
uh,
2022. This was in, I would say, my first son was just being born. So this was like 2006, 2007. And
okay.
she was trying to do a paper route. And I was like, well, we
Right.
gotta get up at 1 a.m. because you're not going out there by yourself, especially
Right.
not in the beginning. But
So, and it's,
she actually started doing it, and I was
mhm,
like, oh, this is that thing. Like, cause like once you get the routines and stuff down, and then when she was getting them checks, I was like, damn, I didn't know the paper route pay like this. Like, whoa, like so I get it. Like I get
yeah,
it. So when you
it
said you
was,
did, I was like, yeah, you must have been really, you was taking multiple routes too. You had to
oh
do.
yeah, I had, when I left, I had 18 routes, right?
You
So
said
what
18?
I made a business out of it.
Yeah,
So I contracted 18 routes and then I started hiring other people to run the routes for me.
Uh,
And yes, you're right. Getting up at that time was a concern, but I was out in like Delaware County, out in Villanova, Wayne.
yeah,
So crime out there is not like it is, right? So I wasn't fearful to be out there that time of the night. But I mean, yeah, I cut close to six figures one year just having a newspaper route. So the
yeah,
money was very lucrative. And again, from 2 to 6 in the morning, the only other thing you could be doing is sleeping, right?
yeah,
So, I took that, try
nice.
to, do other things.
Yeah, that's an important part of your journey, though. That allowed you to do what you do now.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
So let's talk about this, though. I've given you. I always give you flowers when I see you too, because I just appreciate you so much. But what is the future like? So, what are some of the things you're looking to do in the future with Quick Abstract? Are you just looking to grow? Like, what are your plans for the future of your business?
So, our plans for the future will be licensed in New Jersey come the end of this month. We're
nice.
going to be in
Congratulations.
Baltimore. Yes, thank you. We're going to be in Baltimore come January.
Woo, let's go.
Yeah, so I would like to eventually be in about 5 or 6 states. And the
Okay.
reason why I hire young people is because eventually I want them to be able to run these offices, right? So, like Lauren, who I talked about, she's going to run the office in Baltimore. justice probably in 2 years. He'll be running the office here in Philadelphia. So my goal is to just have multiple offices because again, there's not a lot of black owned and operated title companies. And the only way to change that dynamic is to change it yourself. So that's why I'm passionate about training up the young people because I'm not going to be here forever. I'm not getting
Mhm.
any younger. And it's important that our younger generation in their 20s and 30s get to experience, what that looks like.
Man, listen, I just want to, again
Yeah,
say salute to you for like, because not
yeah,
not only
right.
are you're empowering our young folks, right, and that's important.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy. So I have one more question,
Yes,
and
Corey.
answer it any way you want to. What do the
Okay.
hours? What does the hours look like? So what does your day look like? Now
Why
I
you trying to
know,
get somebody a job, Corey? Why don't you just cut to the chase, man? You trying to get somebody a job, man?
I work with young people, so
Right. So our typical day here at Quick Abstract is 9 to 5, right? But we have, I can be here from 12 to 15 hours a day, depending on what's going on. I do not make it a requirement for our employees to stay later or to come earlier. But for some reason, I have employees that will come early, stay later because they just enjoy what they do. So a typical work day, I always tell them, I don't want you working, 60, 70 hours a week because sometimes it's warranted, to keep the business flowing and to be able to provide that service. But for, an average employee, 40 hours is all we require. If you want to work more, you can because the work is here. And we're constantly busy, files. But it's a 40-hour work week. For me, maybe 60 to 70.
yeah, no, because again, I work with young people, so I'm working
Mhm,
with kids that are fresh out of high school. That's why I asked about the requirements and then the
mhm.
hours, right? Because I'm I'm always looking to put young people on to a space. Hell, I might need a job in a couple months. This is the way this economy is going. I might have to call
Right,
you like, hey, Keisha, you know what I mean? Like, look, you want to open
yeah,
an office right around the corner
right,
from me because I need, you know what I mean? I might need a job at some point, so I need to know what those hours look like. You know what I mean?
right, right,
So,
right,
but for the very most part, it's because I work with young people, and
right.
they're always looking for opportunities,
Yeah,
and I wanted to be able to tell them what that opportunity looks like.
No,
So
that's
yeah.
that's a
We
that's a
have
good question, Corey.
Yeah, we have some part-time staff too. Like, some of our staff, they have other jobs. They may work at night, or sometimes they might work over the weekend. So I mean, we're very flexible. Again, I just want people that want to be here, right? That want to
yeah,
be that are passionate about doing this job. Because if you're not, it's not going to work.
Yeah,
It's just going to be another job that you're going. Okay, I'm just punching the clock. Leaving at 5 o'clock. And for the most part, I don't have team members that do that. They actually want to stay, and they're
it's
just as
the
driven as
payoff
I am.
is so big, and it's not even
Yeah,
about money.
no,
It's more about the energy, right? Because again, this is my thing. Human energy is more important
yeah,
than anything in the world, right?
yeah,
Like when you come to a place that got the right energy, the
yes,
things that you can do are
are
innumerable.
endless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
endless,
And we have a
innumerable.
good vibe here. We're playing our neo soul music, and people come in and they're like, "Oh, it's a good vibe." And the team members that work here, they feel that. So it's not like it doesn't seem like, "Oh, I gotta go to work tomorrow." Like it's never like that in here. I have people ask us all the time, "Is everybody in here related?" And I said, "No, no, we're a family.
Related by the work.
House yeah, by the work. We take care of each other. We look out. If somebody's having a bad day, we celebrate birthdays. A lot of the team members that are here, they have other passions outside of title, right? So I have one gentleman, he likes to dance, right?
hmm
So we'll go support him on the weekend. Or I have one, team member, she likes to sing. So we'll go support her. So,
hmm
it's just like a family vibe that, whatever it is you want to do, I'm going to support it. It doesn't have to be title. That's a great thing if it is, but they have other things that they're into and we support it
yeah.
in any way that we can.
Oh, that's amazing, and I think
Yeah,
it's also important, Corey. The reason I think that was a great question is because within the real estate space, there are so many jobs or ways to create income for yourself, and I think it's important to like shows some of the non-traditional, because a lot of people don't even know what a title company is. When you talk about
That's why, again, my series of questions was like, what do you know what I mean? Like,
no, that's why I said those are excellent questions, because title, appraisal, mortgage, like a lot of people know what a real estate agent is, right? A lot of people know that, but they don't know all the other parts that work, within
hand in
that
hand
space.
with that agent to make the final from the buyer to the seller, no matter who those two parties are.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that eat off a transaction, but it's important to show, like, what you guys do, because as Keesha mentioned, their work is very, very important in that process. So, Keesha, I just want to say thank you. This was an excellent conversation, and thank you for sharing those gems about title. I'm pretty sure some of our listeners will learn something. Listen, if you're in the Philadelphia area, and if you're in Jersey and Baltimore now, we're gonna be able to support you soon too. So what I'm going to do is I'll take all of Keisha's information, I'll put it within the description and in the show notes. If you're listening to the audio, make sure you reach out with any questions about title. Listen, I vouch for them 100%. So a lot of times when I bring people on here, there are people that I actually use in business. So I use Quick Abstract, I use Core Inspection. I use these people because they're people that look like us that have built great businesses. So I want to wish you like much.
Don't forget Justin.
Hey, listen, Justin, a contractor. Listen, everybody, like every part of my transaction is someone that looks like me that's getting a piece of it. That's the way I personally operate. And listen, even as a brokerage, I'm with Mosaic. It's folks that look like me, right? So I'm very passionate about that. So I get excited when I have our folks on that are building these businesses and doing great work like Keesha does. And I'm always sending folks your way. So I just want to say continued success. And you got our support 110%.
150,000%.
Yeah. So thank you again for your time, Keisha. I want to say thank you again for your time, because we know how valuable that is. And again, if anybody has any questions, make sure to reach out to Quick Abstract. I will put all their information so you can contact them. But so Keisha, just want to say thanks.
No, thank you guys. Thank you, Corey, Jimmy. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. And for our audience out there, as we always say, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much you keep. Game elevates. We'll see you guys in our next episode. Make sure to check out Quick Abstract. We love you all. Peace.